久しぶりだな、麦わら。
Hey guys, we are here again today with a new Lucci gameplay footage video. We are busting out the new deck list. We were actually hoping to bust out Bonnie at today's locals, but there were too many blue players to make that worthwhile. So taking on Enel, we were put on the first curve. We had nothing to do on our turn 1. And on Enel's turn 1, they played Flampe to draw a card and take a life. And then we are swinging 7, milling 2 on the following turn, and then playing Spandam that we drew into. Picking up the Spandine as our only target there. Now heading into Enel's Fordon turn. I don't believe there's too much that they can play that way, so he's just going to go aggro and go banish 7, which, similar to my mindset on previous videos, I'm not going to give you 2 cards to save 1, so we just take the banish. And then on 5 here, it looks like we have a Tempest Kick and we have a Spandam Engrave if we want to play the Kaku in hand, which I believe that's what we'll end up doing here. First, we swing 5, milling 2, and now we're going to tap the 5 for the Kaku. Make sure that we don't get punished by Gidatsu, and we're going to send back the 2 CP cards from our grave. And now on 6 Don here, now that we've made Gidatsu not really an option for him, you can see that he does have the Gidatsu in hand. He's likely, I would say this is a pretty good spot to play down a 6-drop vanilla if you have it, which it does look like he has it. I think now that he's gotten us down to 4 life, he's going to go into more of a starve mode as opposed to being super aggro as with the Nami play earlier. And now we're heading into our 7 Don turn here, where I'm not sure what we want to do. You can see at the front of our hand we have Rebecca, and then we have the 6-cost Brook that we're thinking about playing, but ultimately the leader effect doesn't get the Perospero into the Brook range. So the first thing we're going to do here is just swing 5, poke at him, mill 2, -1 on the Perospero, get a card out of his hand. And now we're debating what we want to do here. I think 7 Don is a pretty awkward turn for us, especially when he's played down a 6 cost, because we don't really have the grave to play a Tempest Kick or any other cost reduction. So we play down the Rebecca to get the Sabo for a later turn where we may want to protect our board. And then we think about just passing here, but then we decide better of it and just to swing 5 and with Spandam, hoping to get a card out of hand. But he correctly calls our bluff here and takes it, and we get punished by a Frankie trigger, which allows him to draw a card and trigger a body, as well as activate the leader effect to go back up to 1. And he's going to pitch a card for leader effect here, and then he was calling our bluff because he was saying that we did not want to swing 6 with Kaku, knowing that he had now triggered a body, plus had the Perospero to swing into it if needed. And so him at 8 Don turn here, he plays the Bird Zap, which is basically just a Gidatsu in an event that costs 2. So he's able to get rid of the Rebecca easily with 2 Don, still having 6 Don for the turn. Now that he has triggered the Frankie and he has the Perospero on board, he may decide to go a bit more aggro. But what he's doing here with 2 Don is playing out the Shirahoshi blocker, which is basically a tech against black, because if we want to get rid of it prior to when he wants to choose to block with it, it's going to give him a life. So what he's doing here is swinging 5, getting rid of the Spandam on the board, and then he has 4 Don still for his leader plus his Perospero. He's going to swing 8, knowing that we're likely going to take that. We're debating on a trigger there. It looks like it was a Tempest Kick trigger, but we're going to choose not to trigger that because that wouldn't really help us this turn. And we'd rather have the -3 for a future turn once he plays out bigger bodies, now that we have the trash established to be able to take advantage of it. And so we're going to swing or counter out of the 5K, and he's unexpectedly just going to put the other 4 on Flampe to be able to get another card out of our hand, unless we want to go to 2 life, which we may actually just go to 2 life at this point. We're thinking through if we want to counter out of this just to get something in trash, which it looks like we counter out of the Kaku to get more CP engraved. And so now moving into our 9-Don turn here, this may be an opportunity to play a Moria or a Tempest Kick and a Brook. I think we are definitely going to play a Tempest Kick here, so we should just go ahead and do that, see what we draw off the Tempest Kick. But first we're going to choose to swing 5 into Frankie and mill 2. And we're going to -1 to Frankie because the Tempest Kick already puts the Sparrow into range for the Brook. And us attaching 1 here lets him know that we're not going to be playing the Moria here. Or we still could, it would just be 1 without cost reduction. So we're swinging 7 into Frankie here. He may actually choose to counter out. And then we do the Tempest Kick to minus the Pero. And then I believe we're going to be playing the Brook here. And so because we're playing the Brook, we have 1 extra Don available to us to play the Spandam from hand to try to get more items in trash for Moria the following turn. So I would imagine that's what you see us do here. And so we are able to get a 2K and then get Helmeppo into our trash, which will be hugely helpful for our Morias in the following turns, because you know we have the Spandine in hand, as well as having Lucci and Helmeppo in trash. And I believe we also have a Rebecca in trash from what was popped earlier. So we should have the full combo set up for the following turn, plus an additional Tempest Kick if I'm not mistaken. The Tempest Kick plus the Moria, Helmeppo, Rebecca, Spandine, Lucci play would allow us to clear basically anything he plays this turn outside of a rush ace, and him having that 1 Don separated makes me think that this is going to end up being a Yamato play. So we are going through our trash on our side while he's making his decision, making sure that we do have the Moria set up. So he's going to use his 1 Don that he has available to swing 6 into Kaku, and we're just going to give him a 1K, I would imagine, to be able to keep the 6K body on board. And then he plays the Yamato to pop the Spandam, and then passes over to us after swinging 5 at life, which will take the 5 at life. And now we're able to untap after taking that with 2 6K bodies and have our Moria play set up. So we should be able to clear both the Frankie and the Yamato this turn. But we're going to start with a 5 swing at Frankie, see if he lets it go. We're going to do a -1 to Yamato here. So Yamato's at 8 cost. He lets the Frankie go. And then we use the Tempest Kick, so that's a total -4 reduction, so it's at a 5 cost. And it looks like we're going to tap 8, play the Moria. We know we have the Spandine in hand, so we're going to do the Rebecca Helmeppo. Helmeppo is going to bring Yamato down to a 2 cost. And now, since we have the Spandine in hand, we're going to use the Rebecca ability, most likely just to add back a 2K. So we grab the Khalifa here, making sure that we have 3 other CPs, which we have plenty of in this match. So we play down the Spandine over the Helmeppo. We're going to put back the 3 Tempest Kicks rather, to the bottom of the deck to play a Lucci out from trash. And then we're going to put 3 more cards back. We're going to put a Stage and 2 Morias to the bottom to get rid of the Flampe and the Yamato. And then we're going to pass back to him, but our board at this point is looking pretty good. We've got 3 6K bodies along with a Moria and a blocker. He's still sitting at 2 life, so he can't just freely Raigo the Moria. And if he plays Yamato, he can only really KO Rebecca or Lucci at this point, but can't even heal. And then lastly, Ace, if he plays it, doesn't gain rush if he does decide to heal up to 3 life, which we're not worried about just given our board state. And so we see him grabbing the 1 Don there. That's telling me that this most likely is not going to be an Ace play. He's most likely going to either tap 1 for Flampe to draw cards and Rygo the Moria, or he's going to swing 6 at Lucci here, which we give him the 2K. Then we think better of it and decide to block here, but I think we should have just given him the counter because we now know the Yamato's coming down and still is able to pop our Lucci. We would have forced the choice out between whether he wants to pop the Rebecca or Lucci, which I imagine he probably would have just gotten rid of the Lucci anyway. But regardless, he passes turn over to us. We're still able to untap with 2 6K bodies and the Moria. So we're just going to swing 5 here, poke at life, do -1 to Yamato, make it an 8 cost. I believe we have Helmeppo in hand. Yeah, you can see we have Helmeppo and the 8 cost Sabo. So now that he's taken that, I think we may, we're going to play the Helmeppo down and then just play the Sabo to get rid of both the Yamato and Shirahoshi blocker, healing him back up to 2, putting him in the same situation where the Yamato, if he plays it, isn't able to heal, and the Ace isn't able to gain rush if he heals. And we still have a much wider board now, still having the 2 6Ks and now 2 9K bodies. So I think really at this point it's just a matter of time. And so here he plays the 5 cost Shirahoshi to draw 3, discard 2. This is possibly the best scenario for us, given now that he cannot play a big body to combat our board. So next turn we should really just be able to go in, just don up our characters and our leader, and then just see if we can get there, or at least push him down to 0 while still having this board. So here he is deciding what he wants to pitch off of the Shirahoshi draw. Ends up deciding to pitch a Yamato here. I think that means he knows that he needs counter in hand at this point. And so he's just going to swing big. We're going to take that because we're not scared of going down to 1 at this point, because we're going to just most likely go for game. Now, he still does have a fairly wide hand here. I think it's 7 cards, maybe 6 cards. So we're going to start off with a 5. Just get him to poke here. And we may be doing that just because we want to play over the Helmeppo at this point with a Sabo blocker. Or now that he has triggered that Frankie, we may here pivot. You can see we still have another 8 cost Sabo in hand. So if we swing 5 with lead, -1 to Frankie, that would make it a 3 cost, and we would be able to KO both the Shirahoshi and the Frankie. So we're going to poke 5 here. If he does take it, I think we can still go in, but he counters out, so we would still need to do 3 damage. We have 4 swings, and we know he probably has some sort of triggers in the next 2 life that he'll have. So we probably will end up just playing that 8 cost Sabo here to get rid of the board, because we know we have enough counter in hand to be able to counter out of a 5 if he ends up playing the rush Ace. So yeah, we're just poking base here, seeing if he will take it and go down, but we're going to try and put him to 0 while not having to invest Don, or just eat away at his hand, play another 9K body, and call it a day. So he's deciding whether he wants to pitch here for the 6K swing, and he gives us a Flampe. So now we're going to go in with 2 9s here. He's going to take the first 9. And then he's going to take the second 9 here. So this does tell me that we probably could have gone for game here, but we're just being cautious and playing the Sabo to clear board. I think now that we've played the Sabo and gotten rid of his 2 bodies, there's no mathematical way we can lose having a life here, and there's no way that he can combat our board. So this should just be GG's at this point. So he's going to just swing 5. We should just counter out of that when we use the Sabo blocker. He did have the ace, so now he's debating if he wants to swing into the 6K body to clear one, but I believe we have 5K counter in hand, so we should be able to counter out of any swing outside of one to face. So yeah, he does swing into us, or swing into Kaku rather, and we counter out of that. Didn't need to, but just we want the full board. Now having 3 9K bodies and 2 6K bodies, it's just over. So we're just going to start off with a 7. Now he's got 2 cards in hand, so we're just going to swing 9s. So then he activates his leader ability, pitching a card here. Still has 2 cards in hand, so we're just going to swing another 9. I don't even think at this point the 0 cost event would save him unless he healed, 0 cost event into beige. Oh, okay, so maybe he had 3 cards in hand. He had the 0 cost event and then another card. Last life was beige, but then we're able to go 16 on Brook, and that's going to be game. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe.